The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? For me, you're me. Louie T, welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Day one of the tampering period of free agency, almost in the books. I will turn my phone back on. My phone has been on silent because of all of the day's activities. However, I'm going to turn the sound back on so that I can stay abreast of anything that may transpire while we are live. That said, how are you guys doing? It was an eventful first day of NFL tampering period. The Commanders were quite busy, not from a quantity standpoint, but from a quality standpoint. Some did not like the quality that we may have gotten early in the day with Javon Kinlaw, the defensive tackle from the New York Jets. We'll talk about him today. Some of you were outraged. I think it's the right word. Displeased with that move. I didn't necessarily understand the angst of the fan base. I did not understand the dismay from some of you. And this was not all of you, of course. I'm speaking of the probably minority of you who were loud and oftentimes wrong, but nonetheless, that's what fandom is all about. So we'll talk about Javon Kinlaw, what he represents, what he brings to the table, and why the move was probably more likely than not made. We'll talk about the free agents that the Commanders have in-house that either re-signed here or left to go elsewhere to greener pastures. One in particular kind of makes a little bit more sense now after it happened because kind of felt like it was going to transpire. And then obviously the big news of the day concerning the Commanders, another atom bomb. And anytime Adam Peters does something of this magnitude, we're going to call it an atom bomb from now on. Another atom bomb went off after he dropped the first atom bomb of the offseason with the Deebo Samuel trade. Here's the second atom bomb, and this one even louder than the first, trading for five-time Pro Bowl left tackle Laremy Tunsil. So very loudly, he proclaims that this team needed to upgrade the offensive line. We were questioning what they were going to do. We said Brandon Coleman held the keys to whether they were going to upgrade that unit or not. We got our answer, and we got it in a definitive way. We will talk about the pros and the cons of the Laremy Tunsil trade and what everything looks like for the Commanders moving forward. So with that said, let's dive in to the day that was for the Washington Commanders, talk about what transpired. And before we talk about Javon Kinlaw, let's talk about this team overall and what they were looking at heading into free agency. So I think I want us to take a look at that first. So let's first take a look at all of Washington's free agents, all right, because that's a big part of this puzzle. They are not done re-signing their own free agents, not by a long shot. They're not done signing free agents from other teams, not by a long shot. So there's still a lot to be settled for this team as they move forward and position themselves for the upcoming draft, which I don't know if you guys, and we'll talk more about this when we get to Laremy Tunsil, but I already had alluded to this. This trade, I think, solidifies it for me. However, let's talk about the Commanders' free agents that they still have out there. And remember, nothing is finalized until the start of the new league year. So things can change. But As of right now, these are all of the Commanders' free agents that they had in-house going into this tampering period. Marcus Mariota, KJ Osborne, Cleveland Farrell, Dante Fowler Jr., Michael Davis, Cornelius Lucas, Michael Dieter, Trenton Scott, Jamison Crowder, Noah Igbenogany, Benjamin St. Juste, Olamide Zaccheaus, Sheldon Day, Noah Brown, Nick Bellore, Jalen Holmes, Austin Seibert, Michael Walker, Jeremy McNichols, Jeff Driscoll, and Derek Force. They also had Jeremy Chinn and De'Ami Brown as free agents as well. As you can see, they're at the bottom because they are no longer here. So let's start there, okay, with the activity from this team, whether it was incoming or outgoing. Javon Kinlaw was the first move made of this group down at the bottom that you see. That was a move that the Commanders made, bringing in a guy that's going to provide them with relief at the defensive line, maybe defensive tackle. I've also seen something where he could be playing some defensive end for us as well. So we'll talk about Javon Kinlaw, some of his positional flexibility. Uh-oh. Did I just say that? His positional flex? Let's call it versatility. Let's do that. So Kinlaw was brought in 3 years, $45 million, as you can see at the bottom. 30 of it guaranteed, fully guaranteed. So what that sounds like to me, and I haven't dove into the particulars of the contract because I really don't care right now. But the likelihood is first 2 years, there's going to be guaranteed money. The last year, if I had to guess, would be you could get out after 2 years, and that third year was probably no guaranteed money. That's the way this feels. Feels like $15 million, and we're a strictly cash to cap team. So this isn't a situation where you got voidable years down the road, this, that, and the third. Generally, if you make $15 million, you make $15 million a year. And I think with the $30 million guaranteed, it probably feels like he's going to be 15, and then that last year, no guaranteed. The base will be 15. And if they want to get out, they can. But again, that's nor here nor there. We'll talk more about Kinlaw here in a second. Let's put a pin in him, move him to the side. Let's talk about a guy that we had a lot of discussions about in Jeremy Chinn, who we said when they were signing all of their guys back, and we talked about a number of guys that we expected back. Last night in particular, in our pre-primer video, I said, what are they waiting on with Tress Way, right? Well, they took care of Tress Way, 1 year deal. We'll talk about that here in a second. I said, what are they waiting on with Jeremy Chinn? I said they've already gotten they've already gotten Zach Ertz done. They've already gotten Bobby Wagner done. I wondered what they were waiting on with Tress Way. Well, they got him done as well. And so then you start to ask yourself, well, what's going on with Jeremy Chinn? Right? We saw what was going on with Dante Fowler Jr. Clearly, he was not happy at the number that they were approaching him with. We talked about that last night. So we knew nothing was going to get done with him now. There's still a chance he could be here, right? Cooler heads could prevail. You've had a chance to kind of see what guys are getting out on the market. There's some stupid money being thrown around, but that happens on day one, which is why we aren't active. Last year, if you remember, we weren't super active on day one. We didn't really start to get active until day two. We did a couple of things in day one, but our real activity started to ratchet up in days 2 and 3. That's when we signed a boatload of guys, because you let the stupid money travel in day one, because you saw guys get Dan Moore. Okay, Dan Moore, a tackle, got paid 4 years, $82 million. Dan Moore is not worth $32 million, let alone 82. But again, that's not for me to decide, right? Titans needed a tackle. They paid big money for it. The Steelers are like, good riddance. You weren't getting that from us. So you let the dumb money fly around in day one, okay? You be cautious with what you do, and you're very calculated in day one, because you can get got. You know, somebody fussed at me earlier, or they didn't fuss at me, but they were like, we signed Javon Kinlaw. We could have went and got Milton Williams from Philadelphia. Did you see how much money Milton Williams got from the damn New England Patriots? Are you kidding me? Yeah, right. Okay. Like, that was never happening. So you let the dumb money fly around in day one. Then when the sensible money comes around in day two, that's when you get into the fray. I expect to see the Commanders be a little bit more active tomorrow. Now, I will tell you some of the items that I was eyeballing, it's gone, right? But that's to be expected. If you wait on some of these items, they're going to be gone, right? But Laremy Chinn was interesting because he didn't get a deal done. And I told you, now I didn't know how they felt, but I know how I felt. And I said, hey, I like Laremy Chinn. I like him a lot. I don't love Laremy Chinn's game. Okay. I don't love it. And you can do better than Laremy Chinn, right? He's okay, but he's no game changer. So if they didn't re-sign him, I'm not going to be that upset. Just being honest with you. If they brought him back, I'd be cool with it. Well, you see the money he got? Not a lot of money. We could have done 2 years, $16 million. They didn't want to. Obviously, they didn't want to. And so he moves on to the Las Vegas Raiders on a 2-year, $16 million deal. So now we have a void at safety. And again, do they fill that in-house? Do they look to fill that on the outside coming in? Do they look to fill that via the draft? Again, we don't have a lot of draft resources. So they're going to have to be wise. But I mean, there's a lot of guys that were here, and this is what I keep talking about. And I know some of that stuff kind of falls on deaf ears, but I said to you guys numerous times, hey, let's not sleep on the guys that were here already that they've been developing, practice squad guys that they may have had as undrafted guys that they brought in here, like a Ben Nickel, for instance. Again, he may be a special teams guy, but the Tyler Owens, these are guys that were here that they really like. Again, I don't know if you're looking at those guys to help you as actual defenders. Those are more so special teams guys. But again, just some food for thought, right? Just some food for thought. There's some cheap options still out there. Julian Blackmon still exists. Andre Cisco still exists out on the free agent market. And those guys didn't get top dollar. You see how these safeties are moving, and you see the number they're moving at. These guys are getting $15 million a year. Laremy Chinn couldn't even get 8 from us. So when the price comes down on some of these safeties, I could see the Commanders getting active or looking at one of these guys that thought they were going to get a 3 or a 2-year deal out here, and they had to come to the realization of, hey, you getting a 1-year deal, take it or leave it. And we're like, hey, that's exactly what we're looking for, a 1-year deal on one of you guys. And then they slide in there and say, hey, what's going on? Heard you were looking for a 1-year deal. Just so happens I was looking to hand out a 1-year deal. So let's say we make this happen, right? We'll see. But there's still some safeties out there. If they decide to go that route, there's going to be a few safeties that I actually like in the draft. But again, we'll see what they decide to do, because we now only have a 1st, a 2nd, a 4th, 6th, and a 7th pick, right? So we only have 5 picks now. So again, we'll see. But I'm not upset at Laremy Chinn no longer being a Commander. I told you, I like him, I don't love him. And clearly, they felt the same way that I did. And then there's the case of Dyami Brown. We knew he was gone. We saw the tweet last night when Dante Fowler Jr. said, I'm sick of the disrespect. And Dyami Brown had exclamation points to add on to that. In a response, I told you guys he was going to get some good money. Now, I didn't know how long the contract would be. Didn't know if he'd get a 2-year or a 3-year deal. It makes sense he gets a 1-year deal because he hasn't proved it, right? A guy that I really liked, who I thought was a great signing by the Buffalo Bills, Josh Palmer, got a 3-year deal for $24 million, I believe, right? $24 million or $36 million, something along those lines. It's a great deal for Buffalo. They didn't spend a ton of money, and they got themselves a quality receiver. I would have loved to have done that deal, to be honest with you. But Dyami Brown got $10 million on a one-year contract to go to Jacksonville. I already told you he was going to get some money. Okay. A lot of people, Dyami's not going to get more than $4, $5, $6 million. Bullshit. Okay. Bullshit. Okay. $10 million for Dyami Brown. Right. Good for him. Good for him. He was never going to see that much money here. Good for him. All right. So now you look at some of the guys that are left. Obviously, we've already brought back John Bates. Talked about that yesterday. We've already brought back Zach Ertz. We've talked about that. Already brought back Bobby Wagner. We've talked about that. Tress Way is back. We did not talk about that, but we knew that was a foregone conclusion. I really didn't know what they were waiting on. Now, what I'm here to tell you is you should treat this upcoming season as the Tress Way farewell tour. Okay? You heard it here first. You should treat this upcoming 2025 season as the Tress Way farewell tour. Treat him like he had announced his retirement before the season started and give him all of the praise and the love. Shower him with all of the love that you can. Get it all out this year, because I'm telling you right now, this feels like the beginning of the end of Tress Way here in Washington. Okay. If they loved Tress Way, they would have signed him to a 3-year deal. Hell, even a 2-year deal. They gave him the Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz treatment. Let's give him a 1-year deal. And maybe he outperforms their expectations. And like Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz, they bring him back again next year. But if he doesn't, he's gone. Okay? He's gone. So what I'm telling you is celebrate Tress Way this year. Because that 1-year deal makes me, and it took them a long time to get to this 1-year deal. It was almost like pulling teeth to get this 1-year deal done with Tress Way. This should have been done 3-4 days ago. They did it at the 23rd hour before the start of this tampering period. Not that someone was going to be beating down Tress Way's door as the start of this tampering period got underway, but that's not the point. The point is it got done late and it was a 1-year deal. So it feels like this is the swan song for Tress Way. So enjoy him while he lasts. He is a national treasure here, but it might not be for much more longer than a year, right? Might not be here for much more longer, or much longer, excuse me. So now let's look at the guys that we have a decision to make on. Most of these guys, in our minds, we've already made decisions on them. We don't want them back. They're not going to be back. And we're right, I think, in most of these instances. We know who had value here and who didn't, right? We all would love to have Marcus Mariota back. I think there's going to be a market for him. I don't see him returning to this team. Okay. So we'll see what happens. We all would love to have Marcus Mariota back. KJ Osborne is as good as gone, right? Cleveland Farrell, he's out of here. Dante Fowler Jr. is the one that sticks out like a sore thumb for me among this group, because I was wrong in assuming that he would be a done deal by now. I thought that Dante Fowler Jr., and he may ultimately be back here, but it would not shock me if off of principle, he's pissed off at this organization. He's not happy with Adam Peters and company, and he takes a deal to go elsewhere to spite them. I wouldn't be shocked by that. We'll see what the numbers suggest. We've seen some guys get some good money, but this isn't Dante Fowler Jr.'s market. That was like, he's a part of that Chase Young, second, third wave of free agency where you're giving out a guy 1 year deal for $10, $12 million. That's the part of the crowd that he's with. So you're not going to see Dante Fowler Jr. come off the board in the first day, right? So right now it still feels like he's not going to be back, which is very disappointing for me. I saw a lot of, oh, he can move on. He can't stop the run anyway. We didn't bring him here to stop the damn run. What the hell are you talking about? We brought him here to get to the quarterback, and he did that shit last year. Wake the hell up. Talking about, well, he can go on. You don't even know what he's asking for. You don't even know what the price is. Talking about he can't stop the run. We didn't bring him here to stop the run. We got him here. We brought him here to sack the quarterback, and he did that 11 times last year. The hell are you talking about? Anyway, I hope we get him back. I really do. Michael Davis, he's gone, right? Cornelius Lucas, I really would like to have him back. Really. And you know what makes this situation even more beautiful? Is that you actually have a real left tackle now. So if anything happens, and we pray nothing happens to Laremy Tunsil and he plays all 17 games like he did last year, if anything were to happen, you actually can put Cornelius Lucas where he belongs, at tackle, right? At left tackle. You don't have to start shuffling the deck or any of that shit. Hey, you go play left tackle or you go play right tackle. We really need Cole Luke back. I hope they understand his value and they bring him back. Michael Dieter, you can go. Do not pass go and do not collect $200, but yes, you can go. All right. Trenton Scott is interesting. He served the purpose last year as our big tight end when we would get into those jumbo packages. When pressed into duty, he wasn't a sieve, but can you do better? Yeah, I think you can, right? I wouldn't mind if he came back, but I'm looking for better. But and he can catch. Shit, we threw him the ball and he caught it. So I like Trenton Scott. If they decide to bring him back, I'd have no issues with it. Won't cost you a lot either. Jamison Crowder, he can go. Like, I love Jamison Crowder, but he can go. But I know there's a lot of Jamison Crowder stands out there. They're like, hey, Louie T, you tripping. Jamison Crowder was really good for us. And you're not wrong. Is there anything wrong with me wanting better? Just like Jeremy Chinn, he was okay. And if they would have brought him back, I would have been fine, but I'm not sad to see him go. Same thing with Jamison Crowder. I want better. Is that a crime? I want better. Again, we're not talking about the same thing with Dante Fowler Jr. How much better are you going to get with a situational pass rusher that gets you 11 sacks? How much better do you want? Situational pass rushers don't get you 11 sacks, generally speaking. Okay? You can't get much better than that. Noah Igbenogany needs to be back. This is not optional. If he is not back, we have a problem. So they need to get on that pronto. I don't even know what we're waiting on with Noah Igbenogany. Like, I don't even understand the hesitation there. Not that anybody's beating down our door to get to Noah Igbenogany, but hey, there's always somebody. I tell you guys this all the time. Just like you see De'Ami Brown's gone. There's always somebody eyeballing your stuff. Okay, just when you think you were safe and that no one cares, there's somebody saying, "Oh, yeah, I saw him. Yeah, we played against him last year. He was really good against us. Yeah, we should sign him." You know, that's how a lot of this shit transpires. Is teams see a player. You remember that's how we got Austin Seibert? Remember? Oh, we were having a joint practice against them, and he was kicking the ball really well. That's some real shit. That's how shit happens a lot of times. Is, oh, we saw this guy when we played against them. How do you think the former Ravens tight end or receiver turned tight end that ended up in Vegas with the Raiders happened? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, and then went to the Giants and then retired. Darren Waller. How do you think the Raiders discovered Darren Waller?
in pregame practice when they were playing against the Ravens. He wasn't playing. He was working out before the game. And they said, who's that big, tall son of a bitch? Damn, he's athletic. Who's that guy? Oh, yeah, that's Darren Waller. He's on the Ravens practice squad. Okay, let's go sign his ass. And they signed him and snatched him up off their practice squad. Somebody saw Noah Igbenogany this year, and they're like, yo, he didn't do half bad in the slot. We'd love to get him. Stop playing around and bring me back my Noah Igbenogany, please. Benjamin St. Just people was playing with me today. I didn't appreciate it. I saw a couple of, hey, man, we just signed Benjamin St. Juice back to a 3-year deal. I like, and, you know, I'm live, so I had to check. I quietly checked my phone. Like, I didn't acknowledge the tomfoolery, but I quietly checked my phone to make sure that shit didn't happen. You really want to see me blow a gasket? Let them re-sign Benjamin. They would never do that. They would never, right? But you want to see me lose it? You want to see me turn into the damn angry, the angry character from Inside Out? Resign Benjamin St. Juice to any deal. I don't give a shit. It could be a 1-year, $1 million deal. I'm going to be pissed off. I don't even want him on the roster, bro. Okay? I don't even want him on the team. So, he's gone, right? Olamide Zaccheaus, I think he'll be back. I feel confident that they'll bring him back. Sheldon Day was actually not bad last year. Now, again, I'd like better, but if you don't have better, I wouldn't mind Sheldon Day being back around. He wasn't awful. I know that's a very low bar, but hey, look, you got what you got. Noah Brown, I think there's a realistic shot that he's back, and I have no issues with him. He was really good. Again, he got a bad rap, unjustifiably so, because of his role on this team, which he did not ask for. He did not ask to be among the highest targeted players on this team. It just happened that way because of the lack of talent we had around Terry. So it ended up being that way. If he comes back this season and he's the third option, fourth, if you count Zach Ertz, but if he's the fourth option behind Terry, Debo, and Zach Ertz, I'd be fine with that. I would prefer, like, look, I don't hate them having Michael Gallup come in for a workout tomorrow and, you know, sitting down and talking with him, seeing where his head is at. Obviously, there's a relationship there between Dan Quinn and Michael Gallup in his time in Dallas, but I don't love Michael Gallup. I don't love that idea of getting a guy off of the couch. But if he's cleared the deck, he wants to play ball. Like, isn't that one of the requirements to be a commander, to receive a commander tag? Isn't that one of the requirements? You got to love ball. And again, I don't know his situation. I don't know, you know, what prompted him to retire. Right? I don't know where he was. Getting injured sucks, and it drains you mentally. And he got injured, and he wasn't the same guy, and that might have drained him. And he lost his love for the game. And again, maybe that fire has been rekindled. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that, right? All these free agent receivers that you could kick the tires on, and you want to go get a guy that didn't play football last year and hasn't been a respectable receiver in 3 years. I don't know if I really care too much for that whole situation. Now, again, they may bring him in tomorrow and do nothing. Just because they bring him in doesn't mean they're going to sign him. But there were so many guys that they could have kicked the tires on. Michael Gallup, really? We'll see what happens with that situation. You might as well just bring back Noah Brown. And literally, Noah Brown is a faster, taller Michael Gallup. So what are we doing with Michael Gallup? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Nick Bellore, I told you, he is welcome on my team any day. If he wants to play football again next year, there's a seat at the table for Nick Bellore on this team. Special teams fiend. They like Jalen Holmes. I like Jalen Holmes. I wouldn't mind him being back. Austin Seibert was as good as gone when he missed that kick against Dallas. His career here was done. They were so mad. Michael Walker, he's done. We can find us another linebacker. I mean,
He could be back here, but we can do better. Right? We can do better. Jeremy McNichols, I would not rule him out. He's another one of those DQ. I love him for the culture type guys. I could see DQ just off of the culture principle saying, hey, nah, I need my McNichols back. You know, I need my Olamide Zaccheaus back just for the culture, right? We should be past that. We instilled our culture last year and how we do business. We set a standard that McNichols helped set that. Our business here with him is done. It should be, at least. Jeff Driscoll, I've already told you that if Marcus Mariota isn't back, Jeff Driscoll is your QB2. And I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. So I think they're kind of waiting to see what Marcus Mariota does. Because this year, you don't need both of them. We had both of them last year because you had Sam Hartman, and he was nowhere near ready to play last year. This year, you're keeping 3 quarterbacks. And instead of Hartman being on the practice squad, I think they promote him to the active roster, and then he'll be your emergency QB on game days. Now, you get Mariota back, all bets are off. They could bring back the whole crew from last year. What you going to do? I just feel like at this point, we're good with 3. We don't need 4 anymore, right? Well, we had 3 last year, and Hartman didn't make the team, but he was on the practice squad. I think they are ready to promote him to active roster duty, but we'll see, right? I think it feels like it's one or the other with Mariota or Driscoll. It doesn't feel like both this time around. Derek Forrest, he's gone. Now, with Jeremy Chinn leaving, he wouldn't shut the door on Derek Forrest. Wouldn't shut the door on him with the departure. But it feels like they're going to kind of wipe the slate clean of the safety position, sans for Quan Martin, Jeremy Reeves, and I mean, Percy's still safe as far as we know now, but they could decide to move on from Percy if they get someone in the draft, or it doesn't make sense. I said this with Jonathan Allen. It didn't make sense to cut him. Doesn't make sense to cut Percy Butler unless there's a real rationale behind it. So we'll see, right? We'll see what happens with Derek Forrest. Feels like he's gone to. Feels like he's gone to. So now we transition away from that to Javon Kinlaw. So let's talk about Javon Kinlaw first before we get to the main event of the evening. And of course, that being Laremy Tunsil. So Javon Kinlaw was the first signing of the tampering period for the Commanders, and it was received with mixed reviews. I think we were all surprised by the move. I know I never spoke about Javon Kinlaw, but I didn't really talk about defensive tackle in general, because I said I expect us to go out and get some sort of veteran. And then I just swept it under the rug and said, hey, it's too many of them available for me to start singling out guys. So I never really looked at the position as a whole and told you what I thought about who they could bring in. But I can tell you right now, Javon Kinlaw wasn't on my radar, and I wasn't thinking about it. And so I think it caught all of us off guard. Like, whoa, wait, the first signing is Javon Kinlaw? We need corner help. We need receiver help. We need edge rusher. There's so many, and you go get Javon Kinlaw. I think that was kind of the, thought process by a lot of people. But once you get past all of that, right, the initial shock of the move and like who he's been, you start peeling back layers, and it makes sense, right? Javon Kinlaw. So let's kind of talk about Javon Kinlaw and who he is as a player, what he represents, and why he's here. So Javon Kinlaw was drafted. So to give you just a little bit of background on him, he was drafted by the 49ers back in 2019, I believe. I think is when they traded DeForest Buckner to the Indianapolis Colts. So they needed to replace DeForest Buckner's. They needed to replace his production, and in order to do so, they traded back with the Buccaneers, who traded up to get Tristan Wirfs. So this was 2020. Now it all makes sense because that was the year the Bucs got Tom Brady. They needed to protect him. They did all of this revamping and reworking of their offensive line, including trading up for Tristan Wirfs in a draft that was loaded with tackles. Wirfs was the last of that big group of like 5 that were available. He turned out to be the best of that group, as a matter of fact. And so he ended up being, a stalwart. You'll hear Tristan Wirfs' name again later on in tonight's show. However, they traded back one spot and took Javon Kinlaw. And I believe it was 14th overall. And he was brought in to be the new the new tag team partner of Eric Armstead inside, but more importantly, the replacement for DeForest Buckner. It didn't go well. He had injuries to start his career off that, really took the first 2 years of his career away from him. The third year, he was relatively healthy. He did a solid job, started to show flashes of what they had drafted, but by that time, they were frustrated and they were ready for a change. He needed to change the scenery. They needed to change the scenery. So they did not pick up his 5th-year option, and they traded him to the Jets. So he was with the Jets last season, played 17 games, and started all 17 for the first time. He played his biggest snap share of his career at 60% of the snaps defensively last season, which is right around what he's going to play here, I would guess, because Daron Payne played the lowest snap share of his career this year because they like to keep guys fresh. As they like to say, they want to roll with the deep crew. So they try to keep those guys fresh. I didn't always agree with the rotations. There would be times where we would see no Payne, no Allen. It'd be a bunch of dudes out there where you're like, what are we doing right now with Johnny Newton, Sheldon Day, Jalen Holmes, and Javonte John Baptiste out there? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, this is stopping nobody with this group on the field. Get somebody out there now. But they did roll with a deep crew, and they did rotate guys in, and you didn't see a lot of guys playing 80% of the snaps like we saw in past years where Daron Payne was playing 95% of the snaps on a weekly basis. So he's going to come in here and he's going to play 60% of the snaps or so, which is what he did last year when he was his most effective. Like I said, played his most snaps of his career, was the most healthy he's been his entire career, produced highs across the board, right? 4.5 sacks, which is a career high. He's only got 9.5 sacks in his career. 4.5 of them came last season. So that's telling you he's getting better. So he's an ascending player, right? Former first-round pick, so there's talent. He's big. He's physical. He forced 2 fumbles last year, recovered one of them. All right, so he's also getting to the football. I want to go check and see if he's getting his hands on the ball in terms of pass breakups, pass deflections, things of that nature at the line of scrimmage, because he's such a big guy up there. It would be nice if he's getting his hands up if he realizes he can't get to the quarterback. A guy like Calais Campbell has made a living doing that, and he's not that far off from Calais Campbell. I know that's not a great example because Calais Campbell's like 6'8", but he's 6'5", right? He's a big dude. It's a far cry from the, Jonathan Allen 6'2", maybe. Daron Payne is 6'2" as well. Like, these are huge. Like, Johnny Newton's he looks like he's like 6'1", right? We got small guys. This dude is huge. Pause. All right. 320 pounds. Okay. Like, you can't ask to stop the run. Then they go get a guy that helps you stop the run, and you're complaining because of what they paid him. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So obviously there's a history with Adam Peters, and Peters was a part of the brain trust when they drafted him. I'm pretty sure Peters felt good about him then, like what he saw of him in San Francisco when he was healthy. saw him last year, saw what he was able to do, and there's still a little bit of that, hey, I know what this guy can be. And Dan Quinn, so what I've also been reading is that once upon a time when Dan Quinn was in Seattle as a defensive coordinator, he would have a specific package that he would use to help stop the run when they were having issues stopping the run. And it would feature him putting a defensive tackle, a big guy in Red Bryant, at defensive end to turn runs essentially back inside, right? Set that physical edge that we lacked a season ago. And there's this thought that maybe DQ sees that type of potential in Javon Kinlaw, who is better suited as a, 3-4 defensive end, so more of a 5 technique than he is an interior guy. Now, we play more of a 4-3 base anyway, so he wouldn't be asked to play like a nose or anything, but he may be inside, shading over the center, shading inside of the guard, you know what I'm saying? So he may be playing some one tech sometimes, but he can also give you some positional flex, and I wouldn't have any issues with that if you get to a critical situation or just a passing situation when we see, Dorrance Armstrong kick inside, you take him, put him outside, and you can let these guys rush. I wouldn't have any issues with that. Or you run a game where you run a twist. He comes in, collects some bodies, Dorrance or Frankie or someone else loops around and tries to get into the quarterback. So there's different things you can do with him. He's here to stop the run, get occasional pressure on the quarterback. He's still relatively young. He's going to be 28 before the season starts. High ceiling, and we'll see what he provides for us. We need more girth. Pause. On this defensive line. A lot of guys that look small, that get pushed around. Enough of that shit. You want results? Do something different. Clearly, what we were doing last year wasn't working. So let's try something different that they're doing. Okay. So that's Javon Kinlaw in a nutshell. Got no issues with the move. I like it. We'll see if somehow I learn to love it. He comes in, he plays well, exceeds my expectations. I may love the move. Right now, I like it. You know how I feel about it? I feel like how I felt when they signed Dorrance Armstrong. And it's the same exact contract, basically, they gave Dorrance Armstrong. And I feel the exact same way. Like, he's good. I mean, he ain't great. He's no world beater. But it's better than what we had. So, sign me up. It's kind of how I feel about Javon Kinlaw. So, let's move on to the main event of the evening. And the atom bomb that went off around. And what's funny is when I was doing my stream earlier, my podcast, we were going through all of the moves as they were happening in real time, kind of discussing them. And I was like, all right, I got to get ready for my Bleacher Report show. And I said, I'm about to get off here in the next 5 minutes or so. And somebody in the comment section said, well, Louie's about to get off, so something's about to go down. And I just chuckled a little bit because every time I get off, something happens, right? It never fails, right? I'm on during the day. I'm like, okay, nothing's happening. Everything's kind of died down. I'm going to get out of here. If something happens, I'll be back. As soon as I get off, something happens and I come back. And I'm like, every time, it never fails. And sure enough, I got off today. Had to be 10 minutes later. The Laremy Tunsil trade happened. I got people hitting me up screaming, Laremy Tunsil. They don't say anything else. Laremy Tunsil. I'm like, did we really trade for Laremy Tunsil? Yeah. That sound, my phone going off repeatedly. Bing, bing, bing. That was the atom bomb. You dropped a bomb on me. Baby, you dropped a bomb on me. You dropped a bomb on me. Adam, you dropped a bomb on me. Another atom bomb, baby. So, let's talk about the deal itself. And let me get the particulars of the Laremy Tunsil deal. I think I got it committed to memory already, but let me just get the particulars. So the deal for Laremy Tunsil, before we talk about the particulars, is Washington is sending a 2025 third-round pick, a 2025 seventh-round pick, so 2 picks this year, a third and a seventh. They're sending a 2026 second-round pick and a 2026 fourth-round pick in exchange for Laremy Tunsil and a 2025 fourth-round pick. Okay? So, in essence, we gave up 2 picks next year and 1 pick this year for Laremy Tunsil. All right. So we're down to 5 picks this year in the draft. We have a first-round pick. We have a second-round pick. We have a fourth-round pick. We have a 6th-round pick. And we have a 7th-round pick. That is all. Now, that's subject to change. Obviously, if you trade out of 29, and I know he's going to work hard, unless there's a guy that they absolutely love at 29, Adam Peters is going to do everything in his power to get out of 29, which would allow him to pick up an additional 2 and possibly a 3. And now all of a sudden you love what you have, right? You're back to 7 picks if you're able to do that, right? If you're able to trade back out of 29, pick up a second and a third, now you got 2 2s, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7. Or excuse me, you would have 2 2s, a 3, a 4, a 6, and a 7. I think I said that right. 2 2s, a 3, a 4, yep, a 6, and a 7. So you would have 6 picks, not 7. But you feel a lot better about those 6 picks because 3 of them would come on day number 2, and then you'd have a 4th-round pick, which I think is a money spot, because if you can somehow come away with an additional second and a third, you're going to come away with a lot more stuff that is right in the wheelhouse of great value. Now, you can still do damage with the picks you currently have if you don't have the ability to get out of any of those selections and you have to make picks. You know, and the assumption we keep making is, oh, you know, you got to trade out of the first round. What if the trade back is more valuable in the second round? What if the trade back isn't valuable in the first because the value isn't there, but there are teams in the third round that want to get back into the second round to leapfrog over teams that they think may take a player that they want. And the trade back value might be greater for you at 61 than it is at 29. And so that's where you may be able to pick up the additional, you know, 3rd and a 4th or 3rd and a 5th and get that capital, right? So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. I say additional 3rd. We don't have a 3rd. You would pick up a 3rd in that instance. But all in all, let's talk about the Laremy Tunsil trade, and let's talk about the pros and cons of that trade. So let's go back in here and let's look at Laremy Tunsil first and what this money looks like. So as you can see, Laremy Tunsil right now is he'll be age 30 this season, right? He's, if I'm not mistaken, he's either 30 years old now and he'll turn, I think his birthday is in August. Let me double check on that. I don't want to give you guys wrong information. Yeah, he's 30 right now, and he'll be 31 in August. So he'll be 31 this season. He'll be 32 next season. Now, here's something that we need to make abundantly clear. We've got him under contract for the next 2 seasons. As you can see, at 21 million roughly, right? Which is a great number for starting left tackle. The caliber of a Laremy Tunsil, obviously. So what you've effectively done with the Laremy Tunsil trade is you've revamped this offensive line. Now this could actually be a strength of this team. It's what we wanted them to do after watching Brandon Coleman struggle, give a valiant effort, but struggle nonetheless at left tackle throughout the course of the season. We got as much as we could get out of him at left tackle. He fought his ass off, fought through injuries, but he's not built for the tackle life. And that's okay. And I went back to when they drafted him and they called him on the phone, and Adam Peters said, "Hey man, we're so excited to have you. And wherever you're going to help us, wherever you're going to play," right? He didn't specifically say tackle, guard. You're going to help us somewhere on the offensive line. That's what he told them. They gave him a shot at tackle. I appreciate them giving him a shot at tackle, but guard is where he needs to live. That's his new home. And now all of a sudden, you've taken Brandon Coleman from tackle to guard, and you've solidified this offensive line. Now think about it in this regard. Laremy Tunsil at left tackle, Brandon Coleman at left guard, Tyler Biadasz at center, Sam Cosmi at right guard, and now your only weakness, your one area of concern is Andrew Wiley at right tackle. And he wasn't terrible last year. You just can do better than Andrew Wiley. So I feel really good about this group, to be honest with you. Damn good. It's a far cry from the offensive line we were putting on the field last year. And no disrespect to Nick Allegretti. He fought his balls off last year. He wasn't terrible, but you can do better than Nick Allegretti. He makes a hell of an interior, backup offensive lineman, though. Like I told you, he's like Wes Schweitzer. Swiss Army knife inside, can play all 3 positions. Who doesn't love that? I feel damn good about Wes Schweitzer. I feel damn good about Nick Allegretti coming off the bench if he has to. So you see what the money is, $21 million for the next 2 years, right? And here's the beautiful part about this. You can get out of this deal after this season. Like if you trade for Tunsil this year and it's an abject disaster, he's getting his ass whooped. The penalty numbers are ridiculous. And he's just a shell of himself. And the Texans saw it coming a mile away, which is why they traded him. And you got the bad end of the deal. You don't have to double down on the mistake. You can move on from him after this year, right? The choice is yours. If you love what he provides you with, you could even extend him if you want after this season. You could extend him. Or you could just say, hey, and this is what I really love about this deal, is that it provides you with an opportunity to draft a tackle either this year to develop or next year. You can draft a tackle to replace Andrew Wiley this year for next year, and you can draft a tackle next year to replace Tunsil the year after, right? Like you can stagger this. Now, the 2 years, which is why we had to give up so much to get him, not only because of him being a 5-time Pro Bowler, right, and a really good tackle, one of the best in the league, but you're also trading for a guy that has 2 years left on a very manageable contract, right? So understand what this is. So you love the deal. You love the financial aspect of it. You love the flexibility of it. Don't like it after 1 year, you can get out. You love the fact that if he's still playing at a high enough level, you can give him a 2-year extension after this year, or you can let him play out next year. And if he's still playing at a high level, you can re-sign him after that, right? Tackle is one of those positions. If you're really good at what you do, keep your body in shape, you can play till you're 40. We saw Andrew Whitworth do it. We saw Jason Peters do it. Like guys can play well into their, late 30s if you keep yourself in shape. Trent Williams is no spring chicken, and he's still playing at a high level. Again, I don't like comparing people to Trent Williams, but you get it. You get what I'm saying. So the age doesn't affect me. I don't worry about Laremy Tunsil age-wise. All right. So This is a good contract. This is why you give up all those picks, and you still feel like a 3, a 7, a 2, and a 4. Like you basically said, hey, don't touch my second round pick this year. I got a couple of 7s. You can take one of those this year. Next year, you're hoping to win the Super Bowl. So that second round pick, you're hoping is 64th overall. Like that's the hope, right? We'll see. It was 61 this year. So hell, we'll see what the draft looks like next year. But you move on to the next bit of information that makes you excited about Laremy Tunsil. So this is why you trade for him. This is why you give up all them picks. You know, this is why you should be excited as a Commanders fan. You're not only upgrading one position, you're upgrading the entire left side of the offensive line, and you're upgrading the unit as a whole. We talked about getting better in the trenches. You just did that by adding probably a top 7 left tackle in football. I'm being, modest here. You're probably talking a top 5 left tackle in football in Laremy Tunsil, right? Warren Sharp of Sharp Football tweeted this out. Laremy Tunsil has been incredible. His rank in pressure rate allowed among left tackles with at least 75 pass blocking snaps per year. 2022, he was second best in the NFL of 51 tackles who qualified at giving up only 2.6% of pressures in pass sets. In 2023, he was fourth best in the league among 54 tackles that qualified at 3.9% of pressures. In 2024, he got back to being the second best in football, this time of 56 possible tackles who were eligible at only 2.9%. You combine all 3 of those years, and he's second in the league of 44 eligible tackles at 3.1% with 400 pass blocking snaps. Only behind, and this is the guy I talked about earlier, and I said you would hear his name again, Tristan Wirfs of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who is incredible at left tackle. So what you're getting is a rock at left tackle. A guy that is as steady as the day is long, a guy that's going to allow you some flexibility in how you call things, a guy that you can leave out on an island, not have to chip. You can focus more of your attention on the other side of the offensive line. You don't have to have those double chips. We would often see, a tight end and a running back on the edge of the lines of scrimmage for us as like wing players getting a piece before going out. Or you take your guy in the slot on both sides and have them chip on the way out. You slow down the route development and how fast guys can get out into the pass routes when they have to get a piece of a defender on the way out. Now you don't have to do that all the time. All right. You can just say, all right, Laremy, hold it down on the blind side for Jaden Daniels. And so when you play against teams like Philadelphia, teams who can get after the quarterback like Dallas, we got 2 of them in our division that we struggled to block guys with at times. This should get a lot better. This should get a lot better now, theoretically speaking, assuming that Brandon Coleman goes and here I am assuming again, I'm doing that thing again, right? Where I'm just assuming they could be taking Brandon Coleman and moving him to right tackle for all we know, right? I'm making an assumption here that could be incorrect. And they could take Brandon Coleman and say, all right, let's try you at right tackle. Keep Allegretti at left guard. And either way, I'm going to be ecstatic because you're fixing 2 positions on the offensive line either way. I still think Coleman's a guard, personally. Okay? I still think he's a guard. But either way, you're going to fix 2 positions, whether Coleman goes to right tackle or he goes to left guard. So either way, I think the offensive line just got better. Not just because you added Laremy Tunsil, but because you're going to upgrade another position on this line, whether it's left guard or right tackle. That's how I see it. So I'm ecstatic about this. And so there's a lot of good that comes with Laremy Tunsil. We talked about the contract. We talked about his past pro. We talked about him being a 5-time Pro Bowler. You know, all of the good stuff that he brings. But with the good does come the bad, and I'm here to give you all of it, not some of it, but all of it. You want to know the one knock on Laremy Tunsil right now, the one kryptonite that he has, it's penalties. He led the league in penalties last season, okay? There was one game in particular early in the season where he had 6 penalties. I did not stutter. 6 penalties by himself in a game. 6. He led the league with 17 penalties last year. Now, as you can see, there aren't a ton of holding penalties. Those are the ones that really piss you off, right? He has to lock in mentally, and this is why I'm not tripping about it as much. He had 17 penalties to lead the league last year. As you can see by this graphic, he only gave up 95 penalty yards. All right, now we got another guy on this list, and Samuel Cosme. That should piss you off, but that's nor here nor there, right? Tunsil's 17 penalties, the thing that's encouraging with him is 12 of them were false starts. That's avoidable, you know. Just hold your water and don't jump false start, right? Now, that can also be something that pisses you off. It's 2nd and 3, and Laremy Tunsil gets out of his stance too quickly on 2nd and 3, and now it's 2nd and 8. That'll piss you off. It's 3rd and 4. You worked hard to get to a manageable down and distance, and Laremy Tunsil looking to get a good get off against a elite pass rusher, gets out of his stance a little quick. It's 3rd and 9. That's going to piss you off, and if he does it enough, you're going to be pissed off, right? I'm just warning you in advance when it happens so you're not caught off guard. 12 of them some bitches last year. All right, as you can see, nobody else in the league had double digits in false starts. He was the only one. He clears the next closest guy by 3 false start penalties. He only had 2 holding penalties, so that's a good thing, right? Those are the killers. Hands to the face, holding, that type of thing where you're backing us up 10, 15 yards. That's the shit that kills you. He had 3 more penalties. Those were all illegal procedure penalties where he was lined up in the backfield, right? Early in the season, you remember that's part of the penalties that he had in that game where they were calling guys early in the season to try to, get, tackles to line up on the line of scrimmage. You had to be at the waist line of the guard. You couldn't be too much further back than that or they were going to flag you. He got hit with a couple of those. He got 3 of those in the season, but 2 holding penalties, 12 false start penalties. He's got to clean that shit up. Okay. That is something that would definitely piss me off if that continues here in Washington. But all in all, we got ourselves a damn good tackle in Laremy Tunsil. And this was the move we were waiting on. Something massive. You guys were waiting and waiting and waiting. And I want to tell you that this doesn't rule the Commanders out of anything. All right. Just so we're clear, Adam Peters has officially punted on the 2024 or 2025, NFL draft. I don't know if you were keeping tabs, but he's officially punted on this draft. Now, I'm not telling you he's looking to give away every single pick that we have, but if he valued the crop of players coming into the league this year, because there's one thing to you want to maximize Jaden's rookie contract. You saw what he did last year. You want to take steps to put us in a position to be even better this year. And then there's I don't give a shit about the draft. Let's do whatever we got to do to get the players that we need. There's a fine line that you walk between being aggressive and being dismissive. I think we've crossed that line now. you know, because I wouldn't be shocked. And again, I still think we're in the mix for Trey Hendrickson. I wouldn't be shocked if they traded a second-round pick for him. I still would not be surprised if that got done. Like, I don't think they care about this year's draft class all that much. They're not blown away, is what I would tell you. They're not blown away. He was willing to give up picks in season last year to get Marshawn Lattimore. He was willing to give up a 5th-round pick for Debo when he was probably going to be cut. Now, there were other teams that may have been willing to give San Francisco something for him. And to avoid having to deal with that, to avoid having to give Debo a brand new contract and negotiate with him, instead, you get him for 1 year, you get him motivated for 1 year, and that makes sense. So to him, that was worth a 5th-round pick. To not have to renegotiate a new contract with Debo, to not have to bid with other teams, to not have the price be driven up, but to get him on 1 year, motivated, to dangle that carrot in front of him of a new contract if he plays well, to ensure that he'll be motivated. That was worth a 5th-round pick. To get Laremy Tunsil, to get Jaden Daniels the adequate blindside protection that he needs, that he deserves, to upgrade this offensive line, he saw fit to give up 4 selections, 2 this year and 2 next year. Don't know what next year's draft is going to look like. But in his mind, he's probably saying, hey, if I need to, I can get something back next year. I can get some picks back next year. I can work my magic. I'm not even tripping about that. But he just gave up another 7th-round pick. He's given up a 3rd-round pick now, and you're left with 5 picks in the draft. 5. And he might not be done yet. He might give up another pick to go get a guy if need be. Again, I'm not ruling out Trey Hendrickson just yet. Feels less likely that we go out and get him, but I wouldn't say that it won't happen. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So, let's talk about, before we get to the comment section, because I want to talk to you guys, see where you guys are and what you guys have to say. Let's talk about where we are as we head in to tomorrow, because I expect us to be more. So today was more about quality, right? 3-year deal, right? 2-year deal for Laremy Tunsil, and it was a trade. Today was about quality, right? Guys that they thought highly enough of to either trade for or give a multi-year deal for. Tomorrow, I feel, is going to start some quantity pickups potentially. Tomorrow feels like, all right, let's start knocking down some of these 1 year, some of these 2-year, deals. Again, there may be 2 or 3 more 3-year deals left in the mix, right? Let's explore real quick. Let's explore the free agents list, and let's go by positions, and let's go hit some of the key critical positions for this Commanders team of guys that are left. So let's do that real quick, and then we'll get to the comment section. Sound like a deal? All right. So let's do this. So here's what's left. So Byron Murphy, I didn't know this, but apparently he's already signed with Minnesota. He signed back with Minnesota. So that must have happened, not too long ago. All right. Which I thought he was going back to Minnesota anyway. Carlton Davis, we know, signed with New England. Charvarius Ward was a surprise. I was on Bleacher Report live when he signed, and I was on with a Giants content creator named Authentic, and he was reading out the contract and the length and everything, but he said the team last, and I'm like on pins and he's like, okay, spit the shit out, spit it out. He's like, man, Charvarius Ward has signed a 3-year, $60 million, 36 million guaranteed deal with the, and I'm like, Indianapolis, because it's like, oh man, Indianapolis of all places, what the hell? That was a bit of a shock. Paulson Adebo signed with the Giants pretty early on, 3 years, $54 million. Nate Hobbs signed. I like Nate Hobbs a lot. He signed with the Green Bay Packers. DJ Reed, we know, signed with the Lions. Brandon Stevens, okay, so that's one that I didn't know about. He signed with the Jets, the former Baltimore Raven, on a 3-year, $36 million deal. Jordan Lewis signed with Jacksonville. We were on live for that. Michael Jackson, I saw that before I came on. Went back. Look at that. That's a very modest deal for him. You could have got him on the cheap. 2 years, $14.5 million. I'd have loved to have gotten some of that action right there. Dante Jackson is now a Charger. 2 years, $13 million. Isaiah Rodgers, 2 years, $11 million to go to the Vikings. Tremont Smith went from Denver to the Texans on a 2-year, $7.5 million. And so now this is what's left of the cornerback position. Jonathan Jones, Jeff Okudah, our old friend Kendall Fuller, still available. Stephon Gilmore, still available. Rasul Douglas, Mike Hilton, CJ Henderson, Shaq Griffin, Tre'Davious White, Dane Jackson, Ronald Darby, Mike Hughes, Michael Davis. Kristen Fulton is very interesting to me. He had his moments last year for the Chargers. Emmanuel Mosley, Eric Stokes, Marco Wilson. Let's continue to scan through this. Sante Samuel Jr. Let's see. Our guy Noah Igbenogany, Adoree Jackson, Kendall Vildor, Rock Yassin, Benjamin St. Juice. Our old friend Fabian Moreau, Eli Apple. So again, you see this is not a great list of guys left. You're really picking off the scrap heap if you wait much longer. It's not a lot of good stuff here, to be honest with you. There's some stuff here. It ain't great. It ain't great. So there's still some names that I respect of this group. I think Noah Igbenogany is a must at this point. You have to sign him. And there's still probably 2 guys in here that I wouldn't mind. Christian Fulton is one. And pretty much Christian Fulton. I'm not a big Asante Samuel Jr. guy. And his size is not what they're looking for. So I would be okay with Christian Fulton. I wouldn't be upset at Rasul Douglas. Somebody brought him up yesterday, but again, that ain't what I'm looking for. And I'm definitely not interested in Stephon Gilmore. So yeah, Christian Fulton is pretty much it. I mean, if they signed another guy, I remember we were talking about Isaac Yiadom last year. Clearly, we're not interested in him anymore, or as a fan base. Last year, we were all in on him if we would have gotten him, but it's not a lot here, guys. Right? So that's cornerback. Let's look at edge rusher. Let's look at defensive end. So Josh Sweat went to Arizona. I actually thought that was a really good deal. I thought he was going to get overpaid. That's good money. 19 that's right around where he probably should be. Did Chase Young sign a deal with New Orleans? Is that legit? 3 years, 51 million. Did he do that? Did they re-up on Chase Young? I don't know if this is legit or not. Okay. Y'all said yeah. Okay. Good for Chase. He played good for them. I know Dio Odangbo signed with Chicago. We were live earlier when that happened. Tershawn Wharton. I was like, you go get your bag, bro. 3 years, 45 million. I liked him a lot in Kansas City. And the Panthers break him off. Poona Ford goes to the Rams. I love that signing. Poona Ford's a really good football player. 3 years, 29 million. Malcolm Kuntz back on a 1 year, $12 million deal. I was on Bleacher Report when that happened. Joseph Osai stays with the Bengals, 1 year, $7 million. Derek Barnett, 1 year, $5 million, back with the Texans. So defensive end, Draymond Jones, DeMarcus Lawrence. Obviously, with ties to Dallas, we'll see if that means anything. Charles Amenahu, who didn't play poorly in Kansas City, and keep in mind that he was in San Francisco while Adam Peters was in San Francisco, so there is some overlappage there. Let's see. Cleveland Farrell, Dante Fowler Jr., Emmanuel Agba, Solomon Thomas. Let's see. Calais Campbell, Azeez Ojulari. I think Azeez Ojulari would be a great backup plan if Dante Fowler Jr. were to leave us. Azeez Ojulari would be a great situational pass rusher you could bring in if you were to lose Dante Fowler Jr. That's something to chew on. I used to love Travis Gibson coming out of Tulane. I told y'all to be on the lookout for Chauncey Golston, former Cowboy. Another guy you probably should be on the lookout for is Neville Gallimore, another former Dallas Cowboy. Anybody that was at Dallas at the time DQ was there, you should be on the lookout. Jalen Holmes was with us last year. I wouldn't be shocked if he was brought back. I think Carl Lawson was there in Dallas when he was there. I think they might have overlapped. So there's still a number of options available. Let's go to edge because I think you might find some other guys in there as well that we didn't see that would open up, like Zadarius Smith and all of those type guys. Yeah. So there's even more guys available when you open it up and make it edge. Landry obviously went to the Patriots. We talked about that. Okay, Michael Hoyt got a deal with Buffalo, 3 years. Let's see how much he got. $24 million. That's a good deal for Buffalo. I like Michael Hoyt, man. Patrick Jones, former Vikings draft pick, is now in Carolina on a 2-year, $12 million deal. We were on earlier when Hassan Reddick signed with the Bucks. And you still got Bosa. I think he's going to San Francisco. Not that we want him. Von Miller, he's done. He should go ahead and hang it up. Matthew Judon, I'm good on him. Boy, he looked washed last year. DeMarcus Lawrence, we talked about him already. Zadarius Smith is very intriguing for me. I still think he's got something left in the tank. See if there are any other names. There's some solid football players still up here that are very interesting. So there's a lot of stuff out here on this edge / defensive end market if you're looking. Right now, corner is the one that should concern you because it's not a lot of stuff there. And I actually thought we would be more. I'm actually interested to look at safety real quick. This will be the last one we look at. There's still a lot of receivers left. Hell, we're bringing in damn Michael Gallup, but there's still a lot of corners left. Receivers left too. So not really concerned there. As you can see. Okay, so Andre Cisco did sign a deal. So I missed that one as well. He's with the Jets on a 1 year. So you see where it's going now, right? Cisco on a 1 year, $10 million deal. I can see Washington going out and getting somebody like a Julian Blackmon on a 1 year, $10 million deal or something of that sort. Justin Reed is still available. Xavier Woods was with DQ, I think, in Dallas. I'm good on him, but there's still some guys that I think would be really interesting. Blackmon is one that kind of jumps off the screen a little bit. Fuller is interesting. Let's see. Is that Ardarius Washington from Baltimore? Oh, he's a restricted free agent. I was going to say, Ardarius Washington is available? No, he's not. He's a restricted free agent. Duh, that's why. I was like, that's crazy if he's available. He's actually a really good football player. Yeah, there's some interesting names in here, in this safety list. I really haven't looked at safety because I didn't think we would be here, but here we are. There's still some stuff left. So I think I think they're gonna be somewhat aggressive tomorrow. And you'll see them, make some small moves. Again, it won't be anything earth-shattering, but I think you'll see them make some moves tomorrow that may get some of you excited. All right. Let's get to the comment section. Eric Sunderland, been a member for 18 months. Really appreciate you. Writes, you said you wanted a 4th round pick. He delivered. Yeah, I said I wanted a 4th round pick, but not while giving up a 3rd round pick. But yes, I did want a 4th round pick, but I'm clearly ecstatic at what he gave up the 3rd round pick to get. So no complaints on my end. And I did say I wanted a 4th round pick. That wasn't the way I imagined I was going to get my hands on one, right? But nonetheless, here we are, and you get no complaints out of me. Pit Fight Entertainment. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Pit Fight Entertainment writes, we got one of them ones at QB, left tackle, and GM, Steve Austin voice. Can I get a hell yeah? Yeah, man, it feels good to have somebody protecting this blind side that's worthy. And again, you didn't just upgrade the left tackle position. You upgraded the entire offensive line with this move. As a group, we got better up front in front of Jaden Daniels. And that's important because you were playing in a division with the world champs who single-handedly destroyed the Chiefs with a 4-man rush. We saw what kind of pressure they applied to Jaden Daniels in the NFC Championship game, and there wasn't a lot of blitzing going on in that game either. The Cowboys were kicking our ass up front in the 2 games we played them in, so much so that they said, all right, Jaden, enough's enough. We'll rest you for the playoffs. Marcus, get out there and you close the show. So we really needed to upgrade this offensive line, and we did so, and none of us could have imagined that it would look like this. I don't think any of us predicted that it would look like this. So we weren't even sure if this shit was going to get done, right? We were debating on whether they would do anything on the offensive line. I didn't think they were going to do anything on the offensive line, to be honest with you. I told you DQ said that they were going to look to, they were going to, I think the phrase he used was they were going to explore all options or look at everything, take a look at everything. Whereas Adam Peters was more like kind of like diplomatic with it. Like, yeah, no, we were really excited about what he did. And, we look forward to seeing him get, even better next year. DQ pretty much told us, hey, we looking. I didn't know they were looking like this, though. Barrett Downing, been a member for 42 months. Salute to my guy BD, who writes, no matter where I'm at, Lou, I ain't missing nothing. Man, I tell you, it's going to be crazy over the next few days. So stay dialed in, stay locked in. We just getting started. We are just getting started. You said it like you out of the country or something. Where you at right now, BD? Where you at? Layla Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My girl Layla writes, Louie, protect the blind side. Yeah. They needed to protect that blind side, man. And, the beauty of Jaden was it didn't matter where the pressure was coming from. He did a tremendous job of escaping. The only pressure that he didn't do, and this is any quarterback, I don't give a shit who you are. The hardest pressure to escape is the one right up the middle in your face. And that was the one that got to him this season. A lot of those edge pressures, even if he didn't see the guy coming initially, he was able to escape. But there's a level of comfort knowing that, hey, my back is covered. I don't have to worry about that. I can take my drop confidently and not have to worry about somebody hitting me from behind or having to feel that pressure and get out of there sooner than I want to. I know you guys saw his response to Tunsil, being traded for. So he's excited for sure. Hove, been a member for 16 months. Who writes, Andre Cisco signed with the Jets 1 year, $10 million. And I just saw that. Thank you for that, Hove. So again, what that says to me is that market is starting to settle down because Trayvon Merrick got 17.5, I believe. Then Cam Bynum got 15 per year. There was another guy that signed at the safety position. I'm trying to think of who that was. They got 15 million. Bynum's was 4 for 60. The next guy got 3 for 45. I just don't remember who it was. But now that shit is settling in, right? It's settling down a bit. And Cisco got 1 for 10, So now it's starting to come into our wheelhouse. And Chinn got 2 for 16, so he got 8. So it's really that market is really starting to settle in right where I think they're comfortable kind of paying somebody. So we'll see, if there's anybody in that market that intrigues them or what they decide to do, with the safety position. Tony P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Tony P writes, hey, Lou, I figured out how we get Hendrickson. We offer our first in exchange for Hendrickson, their third and their fifth this year. It would be like trading back and getting our guy. Interesting. So you give up your first. You already have your second still. You get a third, back in exchange. You have a fourth in the Texans trade. You pick up a fifth, and I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, how much value does the 29th pick in the draft hold? And getting Trey Hendrickson, having to work out a long-term deal with him, and recouping a third and a fifth, that would rekindle my interest in this year's draft, and it would make me revisit my statement of him punting on the draft. If he was, again, that would be another atom bomb that would be dropped. Oh, there's another atom bomb. You feel the ground shaking? If he were to do something like that, and I told you guys earlier on in the evening, I'm not ruling out Trey Hendrickson. None of this stops us. Nothing we did today stops us from going out and getting Trey Hendrickson. He's cooking up back there. And I think he's putting the ingredients in another bomb. And that shit could go off at any time. So I wouldn't rule it out. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. We'll see. I like that trade a lot, actually. I like that a lot. Rather than just giving them, say, the second round pick and being done with it, you give them the first and you get other picks in return back that give you value in a draft where the value is in day two, the second, third, and fourth rounds of this draft, more likely than not. I like it. I like it a lot. We'll see what can get done. Our guys wheeling and dealing over here, man. I like it a lot, Tony P. Navy Ramjet, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Navy Ramjet writes, blessings to you and the family, Lou. One trade, 3 upgraded positions, left tackle, left guard, backup depth. Again, somebody's going to the bench that gives us a better option than what we had before. So you're absolutely right about 3 positions upgraded. Left tackle, wherever Coleman goes, because again, I don't want to assume it's left guard, although I think that's where he's heading, with Allegretti heading to the bench. Or it could be right tackle. He can go across the street to right tackle with Wiley kicking inside the guard in the absence of Sam Cosmi. And then when Samuel Cosmi comes back, Wiley hits the bench. Whatever the case may be, you're absolutely upgrading the depth on this roster and 2 starting positions. So yes, I agree with you. Kinlaw, 3 years younger than J.A. with similar production. Obviously, J.A.'s had the better career, but here of late, the production hasn't been that much different. Obviously, Jonathan had an excuse last year with the injury, missed most of the season. But yes, I understand where you're going. And he's a much bigger man. Like, let's be honest about this. Jonathan Allen was barely 300 pounds. We're getting a guy that's 320 pounds, that's 6'5", that can be somewhat of an anchor up front to help us be a lot better against the run. So $10 million per in guarantee. Work to do still, but AP is our guy. HTTC. I love it, Navy Ramjet. I love it. Hufanga, thank you. Remember, Leah, Hufanga was the one that got the $15 million, that 3 for 45. I couldn't think of who the other guy was. It was Talanoa Hufanga who got the $15 million. So that safety market is coming down, back down to earth. And it might be falling right where we need it. There's only one more guy that I think is going to get a ridiculous amount of money. And I think that's going to be Javon Holland, wherever he ends up. But I think the rest of those guys that are out there are going to, have to settle for modest deals. And that's right up our alley, right? Again, if they weren't willing to pay, and again, we don't know if they were willing to pay Jeremy Chinn 2 years, $16 million. We don't know what they were willing to pay him. We can only assume that they weren't willing to pay that. But they could have offered him 2 years, $20 million, and he could have been in his feelings about that. And so the Raiders came with 2 years, 16, and off of principle. Dudes do that. Off of principle, he took the 2 years, 16, because he felt slighted by the Commanders' initial offer. That could have happened. My guess is that's not what happened. They just like, no, we were thinking more along the lines of 6, bro. 2 years, 12 million. Raiders came in with 2 years, 16, so he took it. So we'll see if we ever find out. Spence Calise, been a member for 31 months. Who writes, gotta have faith in Adam. He has taken us this far. Why wouldn't you? Again, I struggle with those who seem like they're having to give themselves a pep talk as if to say that he's not doing well right now. He's just not doing it on your time, right? I'm adamant that you let the dumb money travel in day one. You don't want to be out there in that day one fray, because that money is flying around and it's stupid money, right? I'm still shocked that Milton Williams got 4 for 104. That's stupid money, folks. That's dumb money. All right. Dan Moore Jr. got 4 for 82. That's dumb money. I don't want any parts of that shit. So if I got to put my money back in my pocket day one to avoid that kind of tomfoolery, well, shit, I'm sitting on the sidelines. You can call me all the names in the book you want. There were some good deals that went down today. There were some good deals. Some real good deals. But we'll see what day 2 brings. That's for certain. Dr. B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Dr. B writes, love the trades. Got an elite left tackle and upgraded D tackle. I'm just worried about corner, edge, and safety. Hopefully running back doesn't get pushed back in the draft. I don't necessarily disagree with you on the worry about corner. I think there's a lot of quality edges left still, and they're going to get their hands on one. I'm not really too concerned about edge. Or, safety doesn't blow me away, but there's some quality options. We just looked at some, that I saw that I was like, I could rock with that if they signed that guy. Like there's a number of safeties that I would be perfectly fine with. It's corner right now that's got me a little spooked, but this is why you still have the draft, right? You go out, get you a youngin', like you still got Mikey. You bring back Noah Igbenogany and you go get you a youngin', and you might be fine, right? I wanted to avoid having to throw a youngin' out there day one, year one. But if he's worth a damn, then you should be able to throw a youngin' out there day one, week one, and in year one, and get the results you're looking for. But again, not everybody matures at the same rate, because Lassiter did it last year out of Georgia. Doesn't mean that this year you're going to get a guy that comes in and does it in the second round like Lassiter did. He was fantastic for the Texans last year. Doesn't mean that the guy we get in the second round is going to be like that. So, we'll see. I'm not too concerned about edge and safety right now, and running back, again, we're going to take care of that in the draft. But I will say, now that you don't have a third round pick, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I'm not a little bit nervous about running back, because again, the sweet spot is right in that second, third round range. Now you don't have a third rounder. Your second rounder is pretty far back. I'm just saying, don't get too cute here and don't get you a running back. Fourth round, you might miss it. Now, again, I just want speed. Now, I would like the combination of speed and talent, but if you just said, bro, I got a dude that can run really fast in a straight line, you just got to get him a hole. I'm saying, okay, cool. I got Jaden Daniels. I got read option. They got to pick somebody. He may get some opportunities to just hit a hole and go much faster than slow. There will be speed available in the mid to late rounds, even undrafted speed. I think a guy like the SMU back will be available in the 4th round. We have a 4th round pick now, right? You know, there'll be some other options. The Tennessee kid, the Jaden Blue running back out of Texas. These guys will be available in the 4th round. So I'm not too concerned. Again, running back is super deep. There are options that exist and that will exist as you get into the draft. But I expect them to take care of it. Corner is the only one where I'm like, I think you need to do something. Kind of running out of time here, buddy. And I always tell you can't fix everything at once. You can't fix everything. Which one was more important? We all agreed, right? All of us unanimously agreed that the offensive line came first. So if we missed out on corners because he was busy at work preparing this atom bomb to go get Laremy Tunsil, well, damn it, I'm glad we missed out on corner because it was worth it. It was worth it. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. C Mac, thank you for the super chat. Who writes, hey, Lou, what up, Chris? Hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise. Really appreciate you as always. Thank you for the generosity. Can't thank you enough. Says 2 questions. With about 49.675 million left in cap space, what positions do you see Peters addressing in free agency? Cornerback 2 or edge, and why? And 2, how aggressive do you see Peters trying to trade back from both 69 and 61 to attain more picks, and why? I think that final question. So we'll start in reverse this time and answer the last question first. In regards to this draft, that's going to tell the story of how he truly feels about this draft. If he does not make an aggressive, pitch to try and trade back, if he's not aggressive in trying to collect more picks at some point in his draft, if he just sticks and picks, it kind of tells you how he feels about this draft. And we may find out later that he did try, because it takes 2 to tango. We talk about this all the time. You don't get to just decide you want to move back and do it on your own. You need somebody else that wants to come up to your selection to get a guy. But right now, it doesn't feel like they value this year's draft. And it could just be a byproduct of they're more focused on maximizing Jaden than they are concerned about maximizing the draft. With the way he is built mentally and how he attacks roster building, the draft is important. So I feel like he's telling us this draft is cool, but it's not great. So again, he always said, if opportunities present themselves to be aggressive, he's going to do so. He hasn't lied to us yet. That's the second atom bomb he's dropped in less than a month. Second atom bomb he's dropped in less than a month. As far as the money left and what we address, I think you address both, cornerback 2 and edge rusher in free agency. Both. I haven't given up on either one of those positions. You still need to get Dante Fowler Jr. back, however that looks. And we'll see if that happens. If not, you'll have to go in a different direction, like an Azeez Ojulari maybe. And then I still think a Zadarius Smith is available. There's guys out there, right, that you can get that will make a difference, that can still play ball, that still have good football left in them. And then corner, again, obviously they're not gonna spend a lot of money on that position. Not gonna spend a lot of money on it. And right now it's looking like a 1-year, deal for somebody. Again, my vote is for Christian Fulton right now. Thought he had a really solid season with the Chargers, and I wouldn't mind signing up for Christian Fulton for 1 year. LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. LT writes, Saquon Barkley scored his first 2 touches versus y'all in the championship game. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Was there more you wanted to say, LT? Like, you needed to make sure I knew that or I remembered. I didn't forget. I didn't forget. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, need to get Holland with Chinn leaving. I don't think that's happening, JP, be honest with you. While getting Tunsil was so unforeseen, but it's a huge addition. What the F is Houston doing? They could be getting out in front of Laremy Tunsil on the downside of his career. You don't know what they're thinking. They saw this man every day for the last, 3-4 years, and they might have said to themselves, we've extracted the best of Laremy Tunsil. Let's move on. Let the back end of his career be someone else's problem. You don't know what they know. Or they saw an opportunity to move on from Laremy Tunsil, pick up some picks, and replace him. And that's what they aim to do, right? Cheaper, younger talent. So, again, can't say that Houston is wrong here. We don't know what the outcome of this trade is going to be. We just know we got better. That's all we can say right now. How much better? That will come with time, right? But I feel good. I can't speak for the Texans side of this thing. They may feel great about the compensation. I don't feel like we gave up a whole hell of a lot, to be honest with you. But, they may feel like they walked away with a boatload of picks. They feel good 2 this year, 2 next year. I'm more disappointed with the 2 next year than I am this year. But if he plays at the level that we know he's capable of, I don't give a shit about them picks next year, to be frank. So on our end, we feel good about the trade. I can't speak for them. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy, Chris, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling it up. Who writes, hey, Lou, what's up, Chris? 3 questions. 1, what would be your ideal day 2 and why? 2 and 3, how comfortable would you be if we drafted our next strong safety, and who would you draft and why? So ideal day 2 would be to start knocking down some of our own guys, right? And maybe you can come circle back to some of them. You don't have to be in a rush to get a deal done with Noah Igbenogany and Cornelius Lucas. Like, maybe you can just wait on some of those guys. I know that it's a process, and these things take time. I just want to make sure we don't lose some of these guys. But I think they know what they're doing. They understand the market for some of these guys. That said, I think tomorrow is a day where if you're like, they may not be looking for specific positions in free agency. They may not be. Mistakes were made at corner on my part, because I just knew we were coming away with a free agents corner in day 1. I was adamant. I told you guys we would do that, and we didn't do that. And I'm shocked by that. And because I knew, like, after day 1, the pickings would be slim, and they are. So if they're interested in a free agent corner, I think they better do something tomorrow. So that would be my expectation. Edge rusher, I think it would be wise to do something if you were interested in doing something there as well tomorrow, but it's not as dire because there are a lot of options that are going to be cheap, that you can get on a 1-year deal that can come in here and be serviceable. I mean, hell, we started Cleveland Farrell last year. If that's the floor, right? If that's the baseline you're working with, shit, there's plenty of those in free agency, and they'll be there next week too, right? You're not tripping if we started Cleveland Farrell for, I mean, probably 10, 11, 12 games last year. So not really tripping about edge, because there's stuff out there. But I would like to see them get a corner and get an edge tomorrow, and then start knocking down some of, obviously Gallup is coming in, so that might be the veteran receiver we were talking about them adding. Personally, I would have liked to have seen them, get something more recent than a Michael Gallup, but there could be good football left in him. I liked Michael Gallup before the injury, obviously, in Dallas, and maybe he's fully healthy, he's healed, and he's ready to do damage. Who's to say? But an ideal day 2 would be to start, bringing back some of the guys that we feel like are necessities here, and to attack edge and corner, and go ahead and scratch those off the list of items that are necessary. As far as how comfortable I would be if we drafted a strong safety, as you get less and less picks, you're able to do less and less in the draft, which makes free agency more and more important. So now you're down to 5 picks. Now you're down to 5. You started this thing with 7. That decreased to 6. And now you're down to 5. And as the number of picks continue to dwindle, the number of options that you have at your fingertips in the draft dwindle as well. So I think that 4th round is a sweet spot for a strong safety if you were looking for one. Like, my favorite guy, one of my favorite players so far in the draft is Billy Bowman. Billy Bo out of Oklahoma. My hope was to see him on the board at 61. If I didn't expect to be in this position, so I was going to admire him from afar. Well, we may need him now, but I don't, again, think he's going to be available. I think he's going to be gone. He tested so well by 61. So Penn State they have a couple of really solid safeties that I think will be available. At least one of them will be available in the 4th round. So there'll be some options in this draft when it's all said and done. But again, I don't like relying on too many rookies. Certain positions, safety isn't one where I like, back end guys. I like them to be a little bit more seasoned, because that's the last line of defense. You make a mistake on the back end, you're screwed, right? You're screwed. So I would prefer my back end guys to be veterans, guys that, are smart football players, calculated in what they do. And I mean, you got Quan back there, but you need another dude, obviously. So we'll see what happens. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. Right. I am shocked we didn't get a cornerback, man. A bit worried. I am too. I'll be honest with you. I really thought corner was going to be at the top of the pile as far as getting things done from a free agent standpoint. Again, the big trade for Tunsil removes a lot of the worry that some of you would have had he not done this. There were going to be a lot of you that were going to be losing your minds, because there were a lot of you that were already losing your minds with the Javon Kinlaw deal. And had he done nothing else today, you would have been dizzy. But fortunately for all of us, he did do something else. And that something else was massive. It was an atom bomb. So it lessens the blow, because if you ask me which is more important, I'd tell you it was the offensive line and left tackle. So he did the thing that needed to be done at a position that was more important than the other. Now the question is, what do we do for an encore day 2? I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. I did think I'm like you. I thought today was going to be a day where we got a corner. Well, there's still tomorrow. Jay Black, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jay Black writes, must be fate. Had a gas mask on when I got the news. My wife, she had no idea who Laremy Tunsil was, or is, excuse me. And so, she looks him up. And, obviously, if you put Laremy Tunsil's name in and any of the photos pop up, you're going to see the gas mask photo. So she's like, is this him? I said, yes, it is. She's like, what the hell? I said, yeah, that was a long time ago. Don't worry about that. She said, Lord, who are we signing? I was like, he's really good. JD Sports Talk, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, what kind of message do you think AP sent today to the fan base in JD5? Seems to me that today was more than expectation. My God, Peters is going in. I think the expectation going in was, edge rusher, corner, like those tangible positions that you saw guys at the top of the market that you said, hey, you better get them fast while they last. We spent so much time talking receiver, and not a lot of receivers signed today, as you can see. That market's going to play itself out over time. But what I saw today was a clear message of, we're going to protect our investment. You saw the Bears do what they've done this offseason. You saw the Chiefs, go out and get a tackle first thing to start off free agency. And what you realize very quickly is that, we watched this team play last year, is that you got to win up front, or at least be in the game up front. You got to be in the fight up front. You can't be getting your ass whooped. And that move to get Laremy Tunsil is them saying, no, we're in this fight. You're not going to just be kicking our ass up front and having our quarterback have to run for his life. Having to make Houdini plays to escape pressure. Having to throw off platform, jumping backwards, which is what he did in the championship game a ton. We're not doing that. So I love that. Brandon McCloskey, thank you for being a member of the MOBB for 42 months. Salute, who writes, I love this trade for Tunsil, but I hate giving up all these picks. I talked about this when we were talking about Trey Hendrickson, when we were talking about Myles Garrett. You got to pay to play. You want this, great roster, and you want to speed up the process, you want to skip steps. This is what it looks like. You can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways. So I get it. I'm telling you, right now it feels like he's punting on the 2025 NFL draft. I could be wrong about that. And like someone said, we could get Trey Hendrickson, but get picks in return. We could take a pick, move back, pick up more. Like, there's ways to accumulate more capital. And when we look up, Adam Peters had 7-player draft. I'm like, well, shit, he didn't punt on the draft. Still ended up with 7 dudes. Right now, it's 5 picks. And it feels like you kind of passing on this year's draft. And we could have less. We'll see what happens if they trade for Trey Hendrickson. But like the trade that was offered up earlier, I love the fact that you get 2 picks back in return. You're giving up your first round pick. So we'll see. See what gets done. I hear you, Brandon. I hear you. Jeep Commander, been a member for 42 months. Salute. Who writes, on X, it said that Holland wants a winning culture, and according to this source, the teams in are the Titans, Jets, and Washington. If true, we in. Again, again, be careful. Be careful with what you're taking in on X. So it's a lot of misinformation out there. It's a lot of scary shit out there. It's spooky out there, man. Be careful. But Holland is a hell of a football player. He'd be a nice addition, but again, that seems like more of a luxury that I don't know we necessarily have at this current juncture. I'd love to add him, but I mean, what kind of price you talking about? Shit, you didn't want to bring back Jeremy Chinn for $8 million a year, and we squabbling over what, a couple mil with Dante Fowler Jr. So, and again, I don't know what he's asking for, and I don't know what they're offering him, but I don't know if they're that far apart or not. But I can't see that. I don't feel like safety is a luxury you have to spend big money on. You want to add a safety, it's got to be a bargain basement type deal. It feels like it's got to be something very minimal. That's what it feels like. But again, I could be wrong. Christopher Wiggins, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Christopher writes, what up, Louie T? Long time. My 757 brother. It has been a little while. Good to hear from you. I love that trade for Tunsil. Build the trenches up. AP continuing to keep Trey Henderson next. Possibly. I don't think he's out of the mix. I do not think that is something that you can just rule out after this Tunsil deal. I still think there's a chance that still gets done. I wouldn't rule it out. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, love the Tunsil trade, especially since we can move Coleman to guard, hopefully. Starting a prayer circle for us to get Holland and Hendrickson. I wouldn't get my hopes up on that. Hendrickson probably, to me, feels more realistic than Holland does at this point. You know, Holland's probably destined for somewhere else that has a little bit more money to throw away. I could be wrong. And Holland could be someone that is on their radar, but that's not what I'm feeling right now. Hendrickson, I'm not ruling him out, though. I wouldn't rule him out. And obviously, Chef P has shown that he's not afraid to make a trade. So that's a good thing. Our guy he doesn't lack in aggressiveness. If he sees an opportunity and he thinks it's a good one and it's fair for him, he'll make it happen. So that's why I'm not ruling out Hendrickson. Diallo Watts, thank you for being a member for 32 months. What up, Lou? What's up, Diallo? I've been in meetings all day. What did I miss? We still going back to the chip? Hell, we're off to a good start. We're off to a good start. Plenty left to do still, but we made a big move today. Getting Laremy Tunsil. We said we needed to get better in the trenches, and we did that today. Both sides. Both sides. Korma B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Eagles fan here, but I love and respect your content and low-key love JD when he's not playing us. I appreciate that. There's a respect that goes both ways. Y'all got players that I just go, man, damn, he's good, you know? And that's how it goes. You know, nobody knows you better than your family, right? Y'all know our players intimately. We know yours. You know the Giants and Cowboys players more than you know the Chiefs players, or more than you know the Texans players, because you see these players, you're watching these teams a lot closer than the others around the league. So there's a mutual respect for sure. Really appreciate that, KB. Christopher Wiggins, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. All right. So what up, Louie? Okay, we read this one already. Am I going in the wrong direction? Oh no, you just doubled up on that. Well, I appreciate you for doubling up. My guy, Christopher Wiggins. Let's double you up again. Double up. Who writes, it's just day one, but the cornerback free agent class dried up fast, shaking my head. We just looked at that for sure. How do you feel about Kristen Fulton? I brought him up. I said I like him. Like, of the guys that are left, he's the one that I like the most and makes the most sense. And I look, when all of the guys were available, Kristen Fulton was intriguing then. I would have taken other guys over him, obviously, but he is interesting to me. I saw some good qualities out of him last year when he was with the Chargers. Also, how do you feel about Javon Holland? I'm hearing our front office has interest. Yeah, you can have interest in a guy. Like, why? Who wouldn't have interest in Javon Holland? The question is, are you willing to pay what Javon Holland is going to cost? That is the real question. I just don't see it happening. I'd love to be wrong, because Holland is a baller. You know, he's a guy that can be a difference maker for sure. But we'll see. I wouldn't, if I were you, I wouldn't get my hopes up. Just being honest. I know that might not be what you want to hear, but I'm just being honest. I wouldn't get my hopes up if I were you. Just if we're being honest with one another. I still think you got a better shot at getting Trey Hendrickson, which is a trade, than you do Javon Holland, who's a free agent. So we'll see. Robert Mitchell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Robert, writes, Lou, Robert, hope all is well with you and the fam, or hope all is well with the fam. Likewise. I've been a fan of this team since 72. This reminds me of Gibbs 1.0. We need to enjoy this ride. Oh, I'm enjoying every bit of this ride. Every bit of this ride. And the good thing is we just getting started. Just getting started. Chris and Pip, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Chris and Pip writes, fans forget that these free agents don't fit the Commander standard. They don't want them. And that's the thing that a lot of fans don't take into consideration, is some of the background stuff, some of the conversations you have with teams and coaches, and some of the things that may be out there about guys, and, you know, would that guy be a great fit for your organization and what it is you're trying to do? Sometimes that stuff, you know, we don't hear, but, you know, you only talk about that stuff during the draft and act as if it just goes away once guys get to the league. No, if a guy's character concerns, or isn't a great fit for a locker room, or is, you know, somewhat of a cancer, or he doesn't have the work ethic you're looking for, or you know, he's not a high IQ football player, et cetera, then those are things that you also have to take into consideration and weigh, right? So, like I said, last year we didn't. They knew DQ. You know, explained this beautifully about last year. They had a vision, but they didn't actually know how it was going to come together. But they knew what they wanted it to look like. This year, they have actual tangible proof. They know what it's supposed to look like. They know what they're looking for. They know exactly how they want to put it together. And so they can be a little bit more selective, I believe, because of that. Selective or aggressive, however you want to phrase it, however you want to look at it. Biggie Steve, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Biggie Steve writes, how do you feel about Jeremy being gone? I talked about this earlier. I didn't love Jeremy Chinn, his game, but I liked it and I was cool with it. And I really didn't have an issue with them moving on. Like, I wasn't enamored with Jeremy Chinn. If we're being honest, I'm more so inclined for them to bring back Noah Igbenogany and probably even Dante Fowler Jr. than I was Jeremy Chinn, if we're being honest. So, and they still have a chance to do both of those things. Fowler Jr. feels a little bit like he's gone. But hopefully things calm down, cooler heads prevail, and we're able to get Dante in here. But business is business. And he might have a personal relationship with DQ and he may love DQ, but this might be out of DQ's hands. So we'll see. Tony P 56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tony P writes, Tony P had me thinking I left that other comment. Yeah, that was just Tony P. There was no 56. I had to double back and check when I first said Tony P. I was like, Tony P. Then I didn't see the 56. I was like, okay, this is a different Tony P. But yeah, it got me a little bit too. I ain't gonna front. Sean Hawk. Hawk! 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 Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, you dropped a bomb on me, Adam. You dropped a bomb on me. Yeah, that Adam bomb. Every time we get a big move, it's another Adam bomb. And another one. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Right. They let Chinn go means confidence in Owens. I would not take it that far. I would not take them moving on from Chinn or allowing him to leave as a sign of confidence in Tyler Owens. That's a huge leap to make, considering Tyler Owens did not play a single defensive snap this season. It's a huge leap to take. And remember, Jeremy Chinn was on the field just about every game, either 100% of the snaps or like 96% of the snaps. This guy played a ton of snaps for us this season. So there was no Tyler Owens. And remember, Owens was also banged up this season. He missed some time. It's hard for me to believe that they saw enough from him in a practice setting to say, hey, let's move on from Jeremy Chinn. We got Tyler Owens. They love him on special teams. I think that's the niche he's carved out for himself. They're still looking for a guy to come in and play safety for them. I don't think it's Tyler Owens. General JD, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. General JD writes, from an Eagles fan, a move so far, got an ace draft. We appreciate that. I like the moves that have been made thus far. Now it's a matter of we got better today. That I've talked, every Eagles fan I've talked to said, yeah, shit, y'all got better today. Y'all still ain't effing with us, but y'all got better today. Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like, yeah, we got better today. We ain't better than the Eagles. We know that. We got a long way to go. But we got better today. We closed the gap. Whether that's an insignificant amount or a substantial amount, whatever that looks like, we closed the gap today. And that's how you do. All you want to do is be 1% better than you were the day before. We're definitely better than we were this time yesterday. And tomorrow, I expect to be able to say the same thing. Going Commando, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Going Commando writes, funny, fans were screaming, build the trenches when the season ended. Now on free agency day one, both signings are just that, and they're pissed. Make it make sense. It's kind of the conversation I had earlier when they were upset about the Javon Kinlaw move. Like, fans are fickle in the sense that they want what they want. They want what they want. If it's a name that they like, that they're familiar with, then they're excited. If it's somebody that they don't know, that they haven't heard of, or they're not familiar with their game, or they don't like their game at all, then they're going to be disappointed. And it's a bad move. And what are we doing? And again, I liken it to the draft. The draft is fun when you get a guy that you can quantify their impact. Meaning, oh, this dude had 1,100 yards receiving. He had 13 touchdowns this past year and 86 grabs. Like, that's fun to talk about. Oh, and he ran a 4.4, 2, or he ran a 4.36, and he's 6'4". Like, you can quantify all of that stuff, right? Oh man, this running back had 20 touchdowns this past year. He had 7 explosive runs of 40 yards or more, and this, that, and that's the stuff you can get excited about. It's not fun. It's not sexy when you draft a guard or a tackle in the first round or the second round. But that shit is important, man. And that's why when you see all of these guys flying off the board, all these names and all these guys at these positions that get you excited, and then we just go get Javon Kinlaw and Laremy Tunsil. And even though most people are excited about the Laremy Tunsil deal, they weren't as ecstatic about Javon Kinlaw, but we literally talked about getting better in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and they did that in day one. How you don't see that and how you're not ecstatic about that is beyond me. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of on the same page. But again, fans are going to fan. Fan is short for fanatic for a reason. So can't say you want something, you get it, and then you're not happy with what you get. I always, when situations like this arise, I always liken it to, females. When you say, hey, what do you want to eat? And they're like, I don't care. You like, you sure? You don't have a taste for anything in particular? No, I don't care. So you go get a pizza and they're like, well, we had pizza 3 days ago. You said you didn't care. So I got pizza because that's what I felt like eating, and you didn't care. So what's the problem, right? You said you wanted pass rush, or you wanted defensive line help, you wanted offensive line help, you wanted to get better in the trenches. They did that. I don't understand what the issue is, right? What are we talking about here? So I'm with you going commando. I'm with you. So with that said, that's day one of free agency for the Washington Commanders. I think day 2 is going to have a lot of fireworks. I think you're going to see 4, 5, 6 guys signed tomorrow. And again, not all of them will be outsiders. 2 or 3 of them might be our guys being re-signed back. But last year, day 2 was the day where things really got ratcheted up. And we're still in that same boat, right? Where we still don't have a lot of guys signed to a contract. Okay, we still got a lot of guys that we have to sign in order, like our general manager, Adam Peters, said, to field a team, we have to be aggressive. I think you start to see that tomorrow. I really, truly do. And guess what? We'll be back again tomorrow. We'll be back at it tomorrow. I'll probably have a midday podcast like I did yesterday. Again, or today. I'll have one tomorrow. And I'll be live tomorrow night, more likely than not, as well. So I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow and seeing if what I said comes to fruition and that this team is aggressive tomorrow. And you see them ink deals or at least agree in principle with, 4 to 5 dudes tomorrow. I'm expecting this thing to kind of turn up here a little bit. Them to get active. And it may not be 4 or 5. It might be 3 tomorrow. But that's one more than it was today, right? So we'll see. I think there will be more guys signed tomorrow than there were today. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. take command. I'll be live tomorrow. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. Get you some rest. You're going to need it. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We got Laremy Tunsil, man. Another atom bomb. You dropped a bomb on me. Adam, you dropped a bomb on me. I see I got a super chat here from Biggie Steve. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, we overpaid for Kinlaw. 3 more mil, and we could have had Mac. Who the hell is Mac? I don't know who that is. But this is who they wanted. So again, is it an overpay? I guess we'll find out in due time if this is an overpay or not. But at the end of the day, this is who they wanted. This is who Adam Peters believed in. This is who Dan Quinn believed in. So I'm gonna just ride. See what it turns out to be. They feel like they're getting him on the upswing of his career, where he's finally starting to play the kind of football that they thought he could play when he was drafted in the first round out of South Carolina. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Now we're out of here. Peace. If you're talking about Khalil Mack, he wasn't coming here. What are you talking about? You got like this was a money thing. Khalil Mack wasn't leaving the Chargers. He wasn't leaving the Chargers. You talking about Khalil Mack? He wasn't leaving the Chargers, Biggie Steve. This wasn't a money issue. This wasn't a, oh, we were being cheap. He wasn't leaving the Chargers. He doesn't want to leave the West Coast. That was never happening. So it's not like, you find out Khalil Mack said, if the Commanders would have offered me more, I would have went to the, he wasn't leaving to come to the East Coast. So anyway. All right, now I'm gone. See you tomorrow.